Hello ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the first session of our web design class. So today we are going to be looking at the basic concepts of web design or web development. So my name is Tamon Diodone and I will be taking you through this session. So before we get into the session proper, I'm just going to give a brief introduction about myself. All right, my name is Tamon Diodone, as I earlier mentioned. I am an MBA holder in banking, tax administration, and financial services, and I am into digital marketing. All right, I've been into digital marketing field since 2009, where I started learning about web design. Then I had to get into other branches. All right, I had to expand to other branches, and then I incorporated into digital marketing and graphic design as well. So today we are going to be looking at web design, the basic concepts. We are going to look at the definition, the basic concepts, all right, and the historical background of web design, how the web came into existence. So these are things you need to know and understand before we get into the practical session proper. So let's get into it right away. All right, so the definition of a web design. What is web design, or what is a web design? So web design is the creation of a web page, all right, using hypertext or what hypermedia to be viewed on the World Wide Web, also known as www. All right, so the websites may be relatively simple or highly designed, all right, using professional tools such as Adobe suites of software or open source programs, which we are going to see as well. All right, so now let's get into the historical background of web design. All right, so historical development of the web, these are things you need to understand very well. So the web came into existence in the late 1960s or 1969 when Advanced Research Project Agency, that's the APA Corporation, created a decentralized network called the ARPANET. All right, so which allowed users to share computers and exchange data over a great distance. All right, so this APA, all right, is an arm of the US Defense Department. All right, so they actually funded the development of this ARPANET in the late 1960s or in 1969. All right, so its initial purpose, the reason why they designed or they developed this ARPANET was to link computers at what? Pentagon, funded by research institutes over telephone lines. All right, so during the Cold War, all right, military commanders were seeking a computer communication system which was going to help them. It was to act as a central core. So they needed something which they can interconnect, they can communicate with each other to facilitate their communication, all right, to facilitate them to communicate and actually know what is on the ground. So that's the reason why this ARPANET was actually created. All right, so ARPANET, experimental computer network, that was the forerunner of the internet. So that's just how it actually started. So ARPANET goes international in 1973, and then Tim Berners-Lee, all right, created the World Wide Web. Now this World Wide Web, which we know today as www, was initially a web browser. All right, so www was developed in the 1990s. All right, in 1990 by Tim Berners-Lee. All right, so in 1989, Tim Berners-Lee created the World Wide Web, and it went public in 1990. All right, so later named Nexus. All right, so this www was later named Nexus in order to do what? To save confusion between the program and the abstract information space, which is now called www. So for now, we actually know www as World Wide Web, which is just a space we use in order to get information. But initially, it was serving as a browser. All right, it was serving as a browser. So in 1991, Tim Berners-Lee now created the first web browser, which was the Nexus. All right, so that's just how it has evolved and evolved. And in 1995, CompuServe an American online and protege provide internet access to the general public, all right? And in the early 20s, broadband internet access became widely available to everyone. So in the early 2000s, all right? So that's when people now actually got this internet access and actually were using it. So you see that the internet has not been long which it actually came into existence, all right? So just give a gap between 30 years which this has actually taken place. All right, now let's look at some of the uses of web design. Why do we create web pages? Why do we create websites? The first is for commercial purposes, all right, marketing products and or services, all right, with maybe our business partners or our clients, all right. For entertainment, some of us go to the internet, maybe you go on YouTube to get some funny videos to entertain yourself, to get some music, all right, movies, music videos, play sports and things like that. For information and for educational purposes, right now, if you want any information in regards to any subject matter, you can get it on the internet. There are a lot of people who are self-taught as we speak now because they go to the internet, they get more information and try to educate themselves and build up their entrepreneurial skills. Then we have news. People go to the internet. There is no news you can't get on the internet. Even if it is bad or fake news or good news, you can always get them from the internet. Then for public service announcements, all right, PCA. So with the internet, you can always get lots and lots of announcements that always pops up, and this announcement tries to update you on the current situation in the world. Now let's look at the concept of web design software. When we talk about web design software, these are software that enable you to be able to create web pages, be able to create a website. All right, and we are going to see a practical example when we're actually carrying out design, when we're actually designing a website. All right, so some of these concepts include importing. All right, when you're using a program or a software to carry out your web design, you have the privilege of importing information to that website. All right, you can import text, you can import graphics, you can import animation, audios, and videos. So those are some of the facilities. All right, entering text. All right, moving objects from one area to another, scaling objects, saving in a web-based format. So these are things we are equally going to be looking at. Now, the website has its own language. When you are developing a website, the programming has its own language. All right, so any program you're using, it has a language which it understands. It understands this language, and once you put it in that language, then you are trying to put it in a manner which a computer will understand and translate this information to those who are out there. We understand that in our basic knowledge of a computer, we understand that the computer acts as a binary, ones and zeros. That is the language the computer understands. Once you input information into the system, the computer receives this. Once you input data into the system, the computer receives this data in form of ones and zeros. All right, and once it receives this information, this data in ones and zeros, it now tries to readjust the data in such a way that we are going to understand. It processes the data, now gives it gives it out as an information for us to understand it properly. All right, so the web has its own languages which it understands, and we are going to look at some of these languages. All right, so the first language which we are going to be looking at is HTML, which simply means hypertext markup language. This is the first language that was created, which the system actually understands when you're designing a website. Then we have the XML, which is the extensible markup language. All right, extensible, so it is an upgrade of HTML. All right, then we have the XHTML. Now that's what the combination of XML and what HTML. So extensible hypertext markup language. Then we equally have JavaScript. We have PHP, which simply means a personal home page. All right, so personal homepage, which has actually with time they have tried as much as possible to change the name. Now it is called hypertext processor. All right, now this PHP, we are actually going to see how it actually helps us. This is actually very, very important when we are designing a homepage. All right, the homepage of our website. Then we have the CSS, which is a cascading style sheet. This one is very, very important. Initially, if you look at websites in those days when it was designed, it didn't have any beauty. You just see some text running, you just some funny colors, and the text things are not just beautiful. You see images that are just cropped and placed on the website. All right. So initially, that's how they usually do it. But today, with the use of CSS, it has helped to beautify the website. Now it looks so beautiful. Then we have the Flash. Now this Flash has equally helped to actually permit the running of some kind of programs or some kind of information on your website. All right. Now you notice that initially, when you have a backdated or a program, Windows on your system, which is the previous ones, all right, when you want to run a new version program on that Windows, maybe they'll be asking you for a Flash, all right, that you've not installed a Flash drive on your system, the Adobe Flash drive, you've not installed it, especially when it comes to trying to open maybe video games, all right, or you're trying to open some heavy programs. To ask you to install this Flash. All right, so it is very, very important, and it's actually a language good enough. The new operating systems that they come with inbuilt, so it's very difficult for you to maybe try to open a program and they're asking for this Flash. All right, now we are going to look at some of these languages in detail and try to understand them. Now, it is very important that we understand these things, though we are going to be doing codeless web design, which means we are not working with any hashtags, all right, but it is very pertinent and it's very important for you to understand these things, because it's going to help you not only now but as you move ahead. There's certain things that when you're designing your website and there are some hinges, at least you should have a mindset on how to readjust them, maybe using hypertext markup languages. All right, so we have the HTML, which stands for hypertext language, or hypertext markup language. So that's the first markup language that would allow users to create documents for the web. All right. Then the next is the XML, which stands for extensible markup language. So a markup language used to create new internet language is used for what? Communicating data between applications. So when you're designing a website, maybe from scratch, as people did it before, maybe using Notepad to design, to make sure that the computer actually knows that you are using the modern way of the modern language, you need to first of all open your hashtags, the inverted commas, open and close. All right, your greater than sign, the greater and less than sign, sorry, and then you first of all indicate that this is an XML. What you're doing is an XML, so it can run. Now, one thing you need to understand, we have a lot of browsers. Now, once we design websites using the traditional way of designing them, all right, we need to run these web pages. Once we have designed them, we need to run them on browsers, and there are some browsers that will not accept XML. They will not accept a normal HTML, while some will accept the XML. So you need to try as much as possible to know which one accepts which, and then you'll be able to work and have a good result. So now let's look at XHTML. So this stands for Extensible Hypertext Markup Language. So it derives from HTML and XML coding, as I initially mentioned. So XHTML is the current standard markup language for designing web page. So the one main difference between HTML and XHTML is that HTML tags do not have to be closed, but XHTML tags must always be closed. So we are going to look at that. I think we are going to run a brief example on how we used to design web pages before and what we are going to what is actually being done now. So you should be able to understand how things used to run before and how they are actually running now. All right, now the next is JavaScript. So a more simplistic programming language used for enhanced user interface and dynamic websites. All right, so usually used as a client-side web development script language. So client-side scripting allows for requests to be processed on the user's machine rather than on the website server. So this can be faster, use less bandwidth, and maybe more secure. So we are simply saying that with JavaScript, the function of it was that it helped you to actually work on work locally rather than doing it directly on the World Wide Web. Now, remember, when you're working locally on your PC, things are moving a little bit faster. And that's how we are going to be designing some of our websites. We are going to be designing offline, all right? We'll design them offline. So you'll see how things are actually going to be moving smoothly, all right? When you want to check on what you've actually done, you can easily do that, all right? Though a lot of people just decide to go directly online and host their things and do it directly to see how people will be able to view what they are actually doing. Then we have the PHP, which stands for Hypertext Processor. So initially it was called Personal Homepage, but now it is Hypertext Processor. But the abbreviation has not changed, all right? The name has changed, but the abbreviation has not changed. So for creating dynamic and interactive websites, all right, works by connecting an HTML page with a database, all right? So server-side web development scripting language. Server-side scripting allows for requests to be processed on the web server to generate interactive websites. So with the PHP, what happens is that the PHP helps you to link up what you are actually doing with the server, all right? Because you actually need a server if you have to host your website on. You have to host your website on the internet. You need a server, and that's the function of PHP. PHP actually helps you to actually link up that and make it look so great. So open source software, meaning it is free to download and to use. So these are things we are going to be looking at, some of these open source softwares that help you to actually design these websites and actually have something which is great. Then we have the almighty CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheet. All right, so CSS separates the presentation, the looks and formatting of a page from its content. So with CSS, it gives that dynamism, it gives that beauty of a website. If you see websites that are having landing pages, things just move in, you see things just moving around the website, you have landing pages, those are being done by the Cascading Style Sheet. So it allows a web designer to define a common layout for a website that can be used by any number of the site pages by simply doing referencing the CSS file. So easier to modify design elements like fonts, color, or even layouts for the entire website by modifying a single file instead of having to edit every single page. All right, now let's look at Flash. All right, so Flash is capable of combining vector or bitmap images and including videos or animations for the web. It creates advanced interactivity on the web. So we are simply saying that if you have to work with a program or a program which is more advanced, you actually need this Adobe Flash on your PC. All right, so it is used to create websites, game, and advertisement. And sometimes when you download some heavy games, they will ask you to install this Flash because your system may not have that particular program or may not be able to run that program without the Flash. All right, so now let's look at types of browsers. I believe we have been using browsers before. We have used several types of browsers, but I think it's good we go through some of these browsers. All right, we have Microsoft Internet Explorer. This one always comes with your operating system. We have Mozilla Firefox, which is one of the most popular browsers. We have Apple Safari. This one comes with the Apple MacBooks, Apple phones. All right, we have the Opera. So this one is really going to an extinct, even though people are still using. We have Google Chrome and we have mobile platforms. We have several mobile platforms which we can actually access. We can actually access information from the internet. Now let's look at types of web design features. All right, so we are going to look at navigation. We are going to look at the graphic user interface. We are going to be looking at what you see is what you get. We are going to be looking at page layout. We are going to be looking at rollovers, image maps, and web forms. Now these are just some of the combination. These are things that make up a website. That's just all right. These are just the major things that make up a website. You understand how to create navigations, graphical user interface, what you see is what you get, page layouts, rollovers, image maps, web forms. Then I think you are almost done with creating a website. So let's begin with the first, which is navigation. All right, so a navigation system consistently places links that allow the site user to easily access documents and web page. Now, when we talk about navigating, it simply means you are moving from one page to another. A particular image, a particular text that actually helps to link you to a web page. It means you are navigating from one web page to another. All right, so a navigation system consistently places links that allow the site user to easily access documents and web pages, external and internal, as well as target links within the same web page. So when you are navigating, you can actually move from a particular web page to another website. All right, that is what is known as navigation. Same as you can navigate within your own website. So a website navigation system should assure that the end user will know what is offered on the site, can find what they are looking for, and can easily move within the site. That's just simply what navigation is all about. And it is very, very important for you to get good Google ranking. You need to create a lot of navigations on your website. Then the GUI we have, which stands for Graphical User Interface. All right. The use of a graphical user interface product allows computer interaction within the use of code. Example, when a file is moved by dragging it from one location to another, the graphical user interface triggers the command, all right, necessary for the file to be relocated. So this is very, very important, and we are going to see that when we are actually carrying out a great design. All right, so there are many graphical user interface applications for designers, such as the InDesign and Dreamweaver. So these are Dreamweaver. So these are some of the programs we are going to be using. We are going to look at when we are carrying out our designs. Then what you see is what you get. Is a graphical user interface as well. So a WYSIWYG editing program is often referred to as a visual editor. All right, so visual editors allow the user to design and manipulate a website without using programming code. So we're going to see that we have a lot of them out there, and the most popular one, which is being used by an open source program such as WordPress, is the Elementor. All right, we have the Elementor. There are so many of them, but Elementor is one of the most popular. Then we have the page layout. Page layout usually consists of either tables or layers. All right, tables tags create a reading structure in which content can be placed. We're going to see a lot of page layouts as we are designing websites. All right, the use of layers allows content to be placed anywhere on the web page. So multiple layers can be placed on a single page, above, below, or nested. Nested means you glue both of them together. Due to flexibility and compliance issues, web pages are moving more towards the use of layers, and that is very, very correct. So a lot of things have changed from the time websites were created, from the time the web was created. All right, now people mostly now go for page layouts. You just need to get a page layout, you just edit, change some few things, and you are good to go. Your website is up and running without you doing any coding. The next is the image map. So image map allow multiple hyperlinks to a single graphic. So with this image map, when we usually design our websites using maybe Notepad, you have a lot of work to do to link it up, which means that there is an image. Maybe you've put some text on a particular image, or you want to locate, for example, like a wall map. All right, you have an image of a wall map, and you want to link up maybe Cameroon to a particular page. You want to link up Nigeria to a particular section. All right, so once you see a wall map image and you're able to click on that particular image, and it takes you to another page. But you actually see that this is a picture, but I am able to click on this picture and it takes me to another web page. That is what we call image map. All right, so example is US map linking to each state's information. One of the benefits of using an image map is that one image can load quicker than multiples. All right, so the negative aspect is that the user cannot interact with the hyperlinks until the entire image is displayed. All right, so that's just the disadvantage of that. So once you load image map, it needs to load completely before you can actually interact with it. So if you go to your PC, just go to your internet, you type in wall map. Once it opens, you actually see an image. Once you click on Cameroon, it opens the map brighter. Once it's opening like that, it is actually taking you to another page. That's another page which has opened, but due to the fact that they have actually designed it to make it look so beautiful, they have used a lot of CSS. It makes it look more realistic, but actually you have been taken to another page. We have Rollovers, refers to a web design feature that allows the end user to see or hear a change in the image, text, or sound of a button or link. So this one is very, very easy. We are going to see some of that as we are designing. You go to a page, once you cross your mouse or you push your mouse towards a particular image, you see it changes color, all right, or it tries to pops up, all right. So those are what we call rollover. So usually once a cursor is moved from the link, the image returns to the previous state, all right. So it refers to web design features that allow the end user to see or hear a change in the image, text, or sound of a button or a link. So that's just what a rollover is all about. Then the web form. So web form allows a user to interact with a site, all right. So enter data is sent to a server side and processed, all right. Can also be used to query data on a website. So we are simply saying that with a web form is trying to do what? To collect information from your visitors. For example, you want to get information about someone, his name, place of birth, date of birth. You're actually using a web form for that. If someone wants to fill a survey or want to answer some few questions, that is a web form. All right. Example survey, we have subscription and billing, shipping information. When you are actually trying to buy something online, and then you are given the option of maybe inserting your credit card and things like that. So those are web forms. So servers are now available that allow a person or company without web form expertise to create form and collect data through a secure site. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think with these explanations, we've come to the end of this web design introductory phase. And I believe we have actually tried as much as possible to touch some of these elements or these components or the historical background, and it should be able to help you. So try to go over the videos over and over again. Try to go through these lectures over and over again to actually understand how these things function. All right. So we are actually going to be going to the next session. We are going to have some few practical sessions in terms of the way websites were designed before. All right. And how it is being done now. So we'll look at how it was done before we actually launch it online. So you should understand some of these hypertext markup languages and see how it was done before. So if you have a problem with a particular design, you should be able to identify that, hey, this problem is like this because it's like this. If you see a heading, I say, hey, this is heading 1, this is heading 2, and I should be able to design this without actually using maybe open source or trying to use some of these programs, or trying to use page builders to come out with this, but I should be able to do it at source. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've come to the end of this session. I hope you all enjoyed the session, and I hope to see you all in our next session. Thank you very much, and God bless.